Just back from the 53rd edition of the greatest spectacle in all of sport fishing. You want the behind the scenes from the Bassmaster Classic? Look no further, because once again, Jake's Take is back. Bassmaster videographer Jake Latendresse joins me this week on...
I'm Bob Cobb from the Bassmaster. Welcome to Mercer.
Welcome on, welcome all, friends, family, freeloaders, fishing freaks. You're all welcome here at the Awkwardly Honest Fishing Podcast that goes by my last name, which is Mercer. If you're listening to this, then yes, you're right. It is Wednesday. Every Wednesday at 6 p.m. Eastern Time, we post these shows. And happy Wednesday, happy hump day. I want to thank all our humpers that tune in week after week to this particular program. We talk to a lot of different anglers throughout the year, but these are some of my favorite segments, and that is the Jake's Take segments, where I get to talk to cameraman extraordinaire, outdoor extremist extraordinaire, Jake Latendresse, about the goings-on behind the scenes at Bassmaster events, and no bigger events than the Bassmaster Classic. So let's not go any further. Let's jump right into this. We'll travel all the way to Colorado to hook up with videographer extreme Jake Latendresse with this week's Bassmaster Classic edition, Jake's Take. The greatest spectacle in all of sport fishing is over, and now we have Jake's Take. Jake Latendresse back on the show here again with the greatest Jake's Take of the year, which is, of course, the annual Bassmaster Classic Jake's Take.
Dude, what about that classic? The crowd.
Incredible.
That was insane.
That first morning, I mean, dude, and I'm a weirdo. I swear to you, I've said this a bunch of times on this show. I go down there every time in the first morning expecting nobody. This is the year nobody will show up. And man, like there's people through the streets of Nashville. You just see all these people, or not Knoxville. You see all these people like walking through alleys and stuff. I mean, I picked up an Australian dude on the way to take off. Literally, I'm driving down the road. This was practice. We do practice takeoff for the Bassmaster Classic. We're talking about practice, and we do that. But I was driving down there. It's pitch black. I have my windows down because it's beautiful, and I'm from Canada, and finally there's some good weather. So I've got my windows down on my way to take off, and I hear this Australian dude going, and there goes Dave Mercer. And I'm like, what? It was a dude blogging. Paul's his name. So I said, hey, you want to drive to the ramp? And he got in, and they didn't listen to any of those warnings they told him about traveling to North America, but gave him a ride down. But dude, that was on practice day where literally it was us, the anglers, and like 50 Aussies. But dude, the first day, 6,500 people at takeoff, the biggest takeoff crowd we've ever had. And it was freaking awesome.
We were riding out, as you're announcing the anglers and the boats are trickling out into the start at takeoff. And Brandon Lester, he's kind of a homeboy there. I mean, he's a Tennessee fan. I'm a Tennessee fan. We're cruising past the grandstand. I mean, people that haven't been to Knoxville and Calhoun's and the boat dock there's actually a grandstand under the bathroom facility there that holds quite a few people, and you feel like it's like behind home plate at a Major League Baseball game. And we're driving out, and drones are going everywhere, and the crowd's cheering, and you announced Brandon Lester's name, and dude, he almost started crying. He was like this is day one, and we're driving past all these people, and before we got to the bridge where he could take off, he goes, dude, this is just unbelievable. I can't believe we're doing this. And that's like sets the pace, right?
Yeah. I mean, and that was one of the questions I had for you, because I've always seen that crowd from the shore, like from the crowd side, but to really see that crowd and to see how far spread out they are, you guys have the right view. You know what I mean? When the anglers take off, what does it feel like? Like, I mean, to me, it's always loud because I'm right in the middle of it. But for you guys, does that same feeling transcend onto the water, or is it more?
I think I don't know, but I mean, I go up to the crowd. I go to the restroom sometimes. You know, when we go to the dock, you have to walk through the crowd to get to the restroom, right? Because you can't go to the end of the dock to pee because there's someone in every little crack and crevice
Oh
behind
yeah.
all the tree. Like you can't. There is absolutely zero like private space, even when you're on the water and it's dark, right? And so I walk up there and it's loud. It's super crowded and it's you know it's this amazing feeling. But I'm telling you, when you go out, I'm not an angler, so it's not about me, but being with the angler and experiencing that emotional jolt
Yeah.
of them going out. It's like, and I, you know, Brandon Lester and I talked about it on the water at this classic on day one, how that makes him feel like a superstar. Like it makes you feel like you're truly a professional athlete in the same world as the NFL or Major League Baseball or NHL or whatever. So yeah, my answer to you is it's a spectacle from down there because people are everywhere.
Yeah, it's wild. And that setup with all the different levels, it's perfect. I mean, and I mean, there's a lot of that stuff people didn't even see. Like come the last day, I mean, the amount of people that were up on the big bridges that you guys go under,
Right.
you know, a lot of Canadian flags.
Hey,
It was a really special, regardless of who you were cheering for. You know what I
th-
mean? Obviously, Gussie Winham was exciting for all of us Canadians and a lot of people around the
a
world.
lot of
But
people, a lot of good people that just love Gussie.
yeah, yeah, he
That's what, to me, that's what this is about. You know, it's about who he is. But I wanted to say too, before we get off on that, that as you're going downstream, like there are people at other boat ramps honking horns with megaphones that are carrying big signs, go Brandon Lester, or whoever.
wow.
That's like it's all the way down the river. People are flashing their lights in their vehicles and their driveways and houses. I mean, it's not just that takeoff. It's all the way down the river, man. It's pretty cool.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I never even thought about that. People waiting at other spots as they move along. And
Yeah.
it's cool. It's an amazing event. And I can't thank the spectators enough for coming out to it. I mean, literally I mean, record crowd. I think it was what 163,000 people in
Yep.
total at all the venues. So let's just kind of break it down in sequence as it went. So before we even got to that takeoff, I mean, one of the coolest things about the Bassmaster Classic, if you haven't seen it, you need to check it out. I know Bass had videos up of it. I know there was a lot of still pictures. The drone show that Minn Kota Humminbird put on, Johnson Outdoors, unbelievable. I mean, the night before the Classic, what a way to kick off the Classic.
Like seriously, to have logos, brand logos in the sky with drones, and they look like fireworks going on during the
Yeah.
fireworks display. It's like, holy Toledo. How did, you know, I mean, I know they do drone dancing and syncing and all that stuff. And to put all that, to choreograph all that together is unbelievable. I don't know how much they had to spend on that, but that was pretty freaking cool.
Yeah. It was, and you know, I'll be honest, when you hear a drone show, you're like, oh, that'll be kind of cool. But it was one of those things that everybody, whether you were there for it, you caught part of it. I mean, it was one of those things that people started texting saying, look in the sky, see what's going on. Cause it was
It
that
didn't even
cool.
look real.
No, it didn't. It didn't. It was phenomenal. It was phenomenal. The other thing that happened before the event even started was the Night of Champions. And I thought Paul Nick's speech was really cool because he made it all about the room, you know, all about the people that are there. That's what drives him. Those
Dude,
people.
that's Polinick, right?
Yeah, but I mean, it's funny because he started off a speech with, you know, what do you say the second time? You know what I mean? He's kind of already told his life story and everything, but what he told was the reason why he's there for Sunday weigh-ins. The reason he tries to make, literally he's missed 2 of them since he's been back in the Elite Series, and it's a good reason. But it's as much about him as it is about the anglers. You know what I mean? He wants to congratulate the anglers, but it's that moment that motivates him. He said, like, this week somebody's going to win and they're going to have that moment. And if it's not me, that moment's still going to affect me. It's still going to motivate me. It's still going to want to put me right in that very spot. And so I thought it was a pretty cool speech.
I didn't get to see it. We don't. I wish we could go. In fact, I'm going to ask JM if we can start go. If the camera guys can go, even if we have to work or whatever, go to the event, because I mean we're
You should
not
be there.
to. Yeah, I think so. We're a part of this family. Everyone else is there, and a select few people go to work, whether it's, Wes filming with Ronnie Moore, picking out people to interview, which is a whole nother topic in itself. And the people, did you see any of the interviews? And
No.
oh my goodness, they were freaking a riot, especially Chris and Trait Zaldane. That was entertainment
Well,
at its
what
best.
happened?
Well, Ronnie caught. It was just funny. Let me just leave it at that. It was really entertaining and interesting, and you can go to YouTube and watch it.
Wow. Now everyone's going to want to watch it.
There you go. Look what I just did for them.
So you're refusing to tell me what happens. You want me to go visually
they
see
were
it.
they were interviews with couples.
Uh-huh.
And so, and Ronnie would interview the angler, and then he would interview the spouse, and they would just talk about, what it's like, what the classic experience is like, and it's two different perspectives, right? So each two perspectives is different from the next two perspectives, because everyone has a different experience. But at the end of the day, I would love to start going to that event, because
You are crawfishing your way out of this one.
Slipped out the back door, didn't I?
Yeah, that's a Lee Livesey term I stole from him. It's a great one, though.
That is a good one. That is a good one. But yeah. So anyhow, getting back to the topic, the classic is in the Night of Champions, to me, is a really, really big part of the whole event. It kind of kicks things off for them as far as what, how big and how much this means to bass, and how much this means to the legacy, and how much this means to all the anglers. And I think it's at that point when they realize, thank God I made the classic this year, and I never want to miss another one because of all that hoopla,
Yeah, no, it's an amazing night. It's a Night of Champions, and you guys are champions, and you should be there. So I'll get behind that. But I don't know. I mean, you guys are just getting into town at that point too, aren't you? Like most of the camera folks.
Yeah, we get in. Yeah, so it's Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and for those people that don't realize it, this is not a normal 4-day event. It's a 3-day event. So the camera guys get there on Thursday instead of Wednesday, like normal events. So then we shoot Thursday, Friday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then we're out of there Monday morning. And this year I was scheduled to fly out Sunday night, but because I had requested that, because I like to spend time with my kids after events, I like to be there Monday morning to pick them up and all that stuff. But the classic is so different, and there's so much going on, and you don't, regardless of who wins, like that's the whole thing. There are favorites. People have their picks, but when you announce the winner and that person hoists that trophy up, all of a sudden everything and everybody is happy for that person, and everything after that is focused on that person. Private parties, bars, restaurants, everybody's in that whole little area of downtown Knoxville is talking about that person. And it's just this, I don't know how to explain it, man. You got to be there to get it right.
Yeah. And well, it's weird because Christy kind of pointed that out last year, and it's such a non-Christy thing to point out. But like he said, he says, when you win the classic, there's nothing like that. I mean, you win an elite, even you win Angler of the Year. I mean, your people that know you celebrate you and whatever, but the classic, it's like all of a sudden nothing matters. That thing walks into a bar and everybody is focused on that person. You know what I mean? It really is. And I kind of watched it through those eyes this year. And Christy was right. Like, I mean, it's just such a different thing. It doesn't compare to anything. So yeah, no, it's a true celebration, and it was freaking awesome to see Gussie win. But before we get off to the victory, you were with Lester the whole time, right? You stayed with him,
I was.
or shot. I always say you fished, but he's not allowed to fish. You ran camera on his boat all 3
covered
days,
him.
correct?
I covered him for
Covered him
3
up.
days. Yeah, and he was actually my pick, and I think they probably put me with him because we're both Tennessee fans, and we have a little history together. Last year was really the first year that I got to be in Brandon Lester's boat, and we got along well. I was with him at Pickwick, and I was with him at up on the Upper Mississippi in La Crosse, which he was in the running for Angler of the Year.
Yeah.
So both events were really exciting to be with him, and he did well. So, and I would like to say this about Brandon Lester. Brandon Lester is a freaking hammer. Like, people
yeah.
that don't know that yet don't know Bassmaster yet, because that guy he knows what he's doing. I call him our new version of Art Defoe. That's who he reminds me of. And ironically enough, they're like best friends, right?
Yeah.
They fish a lot alike, and they're very subtle and calm. It's really hard to rattle Brandon Lester, but we did have a few moments in the Classic this year that I won't necessarily say rattled him, but that it brought some emotions out in him at a keen time, and it was fun to be around him during those times.
Okay. So when were those times?
So
later in the event or early in the event?
No, so day one, I don't know if you remember, but he went to these really shallow, fairly stained water locations,
Yeah.
and he was throwing a little rattle trap, a little lipless crankbait.
Mm-hmm.
And the fish were there, but the fish that he thought were going to be there weren't really there. So he caught his limit day one. I think in his second spot, his first spot, he never got a bite. His second spot, he went and filled his limit, and then he went to these bluff walls and started flipping a jig, and he caught a 5.5 or 6 pounder. I can't remember how big that fish was. I'm pretty sure it was 5.5. And when he threw his jig in there on top of this boulder and bounced it off the side, I saw him step back, and then when he set his hook, it looked like he stuck his hook in the rock. It was so big, and he got pumped. I mean, I've never seen him, actually get up and go, yeah. He was screaming on camera, which I thought was pretty cool, because that's very Brandon Lester, unlike Brandon Lester normally. But again, this is the Classic, and all these little moments, when you relive these things and you think about what's going on, it's really like everything about it is so different, and everything about it is on steroids. All the energy's on steroids, and even Brandon Lester was showing his emotions there.
Yeah. It's funny. I never thought about it like this. And this year, it stood out to me. I've always thought that the Classic is 3 days and the Elites are 4 days. So I've always thought, like, well, why wouldn't the Classic? I mean, I get it, tradition. We can't change it now. There's all those records and everything. But is 4 days a more of a tasking challenge? But I think that the 3 days for the Classic, and I don't know that it was ever thought out like this, but I think that in some ways it makes it tougher, because in a 4-day tournament, and you look through the standings, you can see plenty of 4-day tournaments where you don't catch them on day one, but you can work your way back into this tournament. You get another shot on day two, and then all you got to do is slide into the top 50 on day two, and then, so on and so on. The Classic doesn't allow that correction. So, that old saying that you hear way too much. Well, you sure can't win the Classic on day one, but you sure can lose it. It's so much more true for the Classic than it is for an Elite Series event. You know what I mean? Like, it's weird how I never thought about it like that until this year's event. I thought, like, there's no recovering. If you suck on day one, it's pretty much impossible to recover.
Yeah, and there's tiers to this too. It's like when you start breaking this down, right? And let's say you bomb day one. So you lose the classic on day one. Well, when the cut occurs after day two, then all those guys that get cut, the 27 people or 28 anglers that get cut after day two, they go to the expo and they become the guys, just like the guys that didn't make the classic.
Yeah.
Like they're wishing they made that cut. And they're, when you see their interviews at the booth, at their sponsor booths or whatever at the expo, you can feel that disappointment and that, like, hey guys, I wish I weren't here today, but I'm here at the such and such booth representing such and such. And so, and those guys that make the top 25 that make
top 25, yeah,
day three cut, really and especially in a situation like we were in on day three, dude, anyone, I mean, there are lots of impossibles back there in the, say, from 15 down that really don't have a shot. But when something goes down like it did in Knoxville and no one knows, Gussie's got two fish, like, and what if someone in 16th place just stumbles across this school of bass and sacks them up, like, and comes out of nowhere? You know what I'm saying? That was a pretty wild day three, even though it was slow on television. The drama that was going down emotionally was incredible.
Yeah, we should have had a camera with Gussie's family. Never mind Gussie. Get the camera off of Gussie. Goodness. Nothing to see here, but his family just pacing. So that's all I thought about all day. It's like his family and how, because the anglers focused on fishing. They got the easiest job. I mean, they literally just are focused on getting next bite. And Gussie told me, and when he says this, it makes that day seem a lot less boring to me. He told me, he said, there wasn't 10 minutes that went by that I wasn't working a fish. That's what everybody didn't realize. Like, when people were like, well, why doesn't he have a backup strategy to do it? There wasn't 10 minutes that went by that he wasn't working a fish. So to him, it's like, why would I go chase a largemouth thing that I haven't fished in over a week, that he wasn't even certain? He told me the night before, he said, I do have these crankbait largemouth I could go to if I get in trouble, but I really don't want to. And I think he was right, even though he finished with 2, because I mean, to go from 2 to 4 or 2 to 5 literally could have happened in 2 minutes. You could have had, they turn on and boom. And if you weren't working fish, that's a different thing, but he knows the fish are still there. But yeah, for his family that day, it must have been hell. Like
at least they could watch Bass Track, right? At least they knew that the rest of, I mean, to me, I'm in Gussie's head and I'm watching Bass Track. I'm in Brandon Lester's boat. And that's a whole nother story, because Brandon, he only had, let me remember, it seems like a month ago already. I think he only had one fish in the well, 1 or 2 little bitty fish in the well. No, it was one fish in the well at like 2:45 p.m. literally. And we're 30 minutes from the boat ramp, and he's got one fish in the well. He's got 15 minutes to fish. He goes back to the very first spot he started on day 1, which didn't produce, but he had such a good practice there and he knew those fish were there if he just caught it at the right time. He pulls up, first cast, he gets bit. He doesn't hook one, but he gets bit, and he's like, uh-oh. So then in 15 minutes, he catches 3 fish, and these fish are getting bigger. Like each one it went from 14 inches to a 2-pounder to 2.5-pounder. And I'm like, oh my gosh. Like if he had wings on this boat, or a turbo nitrous boost on this boat, he would spend 5 more minutes here. And there's a chance that something crazy could happen because of what was going on, particularly knowing Gussie only had 2 fish, and Brandon didn't know this. The other anglers didn't know this, and my stomach's churning and my brain is spinning, because I'm getting in Gussie's head going, if I'm Gussie right now, or at 1:30 or 2 o'clock on day 3, and he's got 2 fish in the boat with 6 pounds, knowing he only had a 5-pound lead going out on day 3, like what's going through his head? He just choked and blew it, right? He had to be thinking that way.
That's what he thought. That's what he told me. Me and him had a real weird little moment backstage where, like, I leave. We've weighed 19 and there's 6 left to go, and the 6 are standing backstage waiting to get introduced. So I walk off stage and they're all right there, and they look up at me coming down the stairs, and me and Gussie kind of locked eyes. And I asked him, what were you thinking at that moment? And, he made a few jokes that I thought I'd be pretty happy because nobody's going to know. And I always want it to be a surprise, which I do. But I mean, I don't want you to have to go through such pain. But he thought he lost. He was like, there's no way. Like, I opened the door for all these guys, and there's no way somebody didn't catch him. And he said it wasn't until he heard Schmidt's weight. When he heard Schmidt's weight, he was like, I think I won. Just because he knew in his head. But see, that's a whole other topic. But that's why that needs to be stopped, to be honest. Like, I don't care. I get it. Bass doesn't want to stop Bass Track. It gets a lot of traffic, but we got to make a rule where the anglers can't look at it. Because if you just remove that element of staring at the screen, figuring out everybody's weights, it just makes that moment so much more special. I mean, it was special for Gussie anyways because it was so close and in so much drama going through it. But I just feel like it's the right thing to do. You know what I mean? Like the amount of people that talk to the anglers in between the boat ramp and them actually weighing their fish is good in some ways, but it's horrible in some ways. Like, there is every single tournament, there's anglers told you have won. You have won. Like, media people will actually ask for their post-win victory video for X company, say get it out of the way. And so they're actually doing this stuff. And then they get up to the front and find out you didn't win. You know what I mean? It really is an emotional roller coaster. But from our standpoint, I think we did a much better job of keeping them apart this year. Gussie said that. He said, we didn't get the top 3 didn't get to spend a lot of time with each other. But I think we need to freeze Bass Track. I mean, I wish we'd freeze it for an hour to go till weigh-in. Let's freeze it for everybody. You want to talk about making that moment magic. The anglers aren't allowed to look at it anyways during competition. So it's only afterwards. It's not helping them in the tournament. It literally just helps shorten that anguish for the eventual winner. So I wish we would stop that, but sorry.
I'd have to shut my phone down when Bass Track goes off if they do that too, because my phone would be blowing up with people, just my friends of mine that are fans with fantasy fishing or fans of Bassmaster, and they watch it religiously or whatever. I'd literally have to kill my phone too, because people would be going, what does Lester have? Did you hear? Text Brian Evie and see what Gussie's got.
But you can know all you want. I don't care if you know, dude. I just don't want the angler knowing. I mean, the staff can know, the fans can know, but that moment is like that moment when the entire fishing world stops. There's one moment of a year that the entire fishing world stops, and I don't care who you are. If you're a bass fishing fan, you're watching that. And everything stops in the arena. And that moment is so magic. And we've been so lucky to have things like what happened with Gussie, to have things like what happened with Jason Christie not being totally accurate on his Bass Track. All those little things like that are what make those moments so special. But my fear is that we won't change it. We'll stay status quo. And then one year somebody's going to win and we're all going to be like, just wasn't as special this year. Why? And at that time, nobody's going to say, well, we've been allowed to look at everything. So I hope we change that sometime in the future. But
don't you think it would be, if that were to happen, it would be so obvious, like when Caleb Kufal won Gunnersville by 17 pounds or whatever, that ridiculous.
That's the second highest win margin in the history of the sport. I mean, why?
But even if it was 8, but what if it was 8 pounds? what is you? I think you asked or someone asked, what is the largest winning deficit in Bassmaster Classic history? Do you know the answer to that?
Classic history, I would imagine it's probably it's either got to be Jordan Lee or Randy Howell. I mean, they came from 11th and 14th, I think. So it's got to be one of those guys, I think.
But what about the gap between the winner and the second place?
Yeah, I don't know what that is. I don't know what that is. I mean, the biggest in Elite Series history was Patrick Walters. I know that, but not as far as Classic goes. But I mean, dude, if somebody wins the Classic by 15 pounds, it's going to be obvious anyways. What I mean is, but they generally don't win the Classic because, I mean, Gussie had almost a 6-pound lead going in the final day. It didn't end up that way. So, I mean, that's a whole different topic, but I just think like it's such a cherished thing. And I'm sure lots of people will share their opinions in the comments. Like, I just think that there's some magic. I mean, why don't we wrap Christmas gifts in clear wrapping paper? Because you want that reaction when somebody opens the gift. I mean, people write letters and say, I would like said gift. And they expect said gift. Said gift shows up and they still go, I got said gift. And they're excited because we make an effort. And I think that in the Classic, but it's so hard in the Classic because it's so big. I mean, there's so many media. There's so many people. Like, I just want to take away that element of somebody picking up their phone and doing the math. And that's just my thought. And if they don't, I mean, it'll be fine.
Don't you think like within an hour of the final cast, and then the boat ride in, and then the wait to get into the arena, like do you find yourself doing math? I find myself doing math all the time, especially like last year with Jason Christie. Like, I kept looking at his fish thinking, okay, he got to be close to 17 pounds. And Kyle Welcher's got such and such. I do math like up until the last moment.
See, I don't.
It's weird.
Because I intentionally don't pay attention on the last afternoon. Like, the only reason I knew Gussie still only had 2 fish is because somebody said he still only got 2. I literally try to have my reaction as real as possible. So I didn't know that Gussie won. Like, I literally, I had no idea that Gussie won. I hadn't done the math like he had done it. When I saw that he needed, so when one angler weighs, when they switch to the next angler slide, I can see weight to take lead. When I saw he needed 5'6", I think it was, he needed to lead. That was the first time that I thought, I think he's got that. I mean, if you got 2 18-inch smallmouth, chances are you have 6 pounds. Right. So, but previous to that, I don't.
That's actually, I mean, that's amazing, and that leads me into this question. What is it like? What's it like being on stage at the back, like in your position, Dave? What is it like to be on stage at the Bassmaster Classic? I mean, I watch you on stage. I mean, I'm either back there filming with Zona and Davey and Tommy Sanders, or I'm doing something, but I'm always watching you and I'm always listening to you. And, you know, the things that you rattle off in detail, and this crowd and the lights, it's a completely different stage. You got 15,000 people in Thompson Bowling Arena all listening to you, and you're about to announce the champion. You're about to help change someone's life forever. What's that like?
It's weird. It's weird. I don't ever think about it like that, to be honest. Like, in the moment, you can't stop to think about, like, when I watch it back, I'm like, oh my gosh, like, this is that moment that, like, you can screw up everything all week long, but you can't screw up this moment. So I don't think about it like that, but it is that. I mean, it's cool. Like, I will say the weirdest thing about Gussie's victory is it's the first time somebody has won that I didn't know what I said on stage. Like, I literally got off stage, and my wife Sarah was there, and she was the first person I saw when I got off stage, and I said, "What did I say?" And she said,
"Oh, Canada."
I didn't even know that I said, like, I don't know what, like, I had to watch it back, and it was, "Oh, Canada, you have a Bassmaster Classic champion." But I literally didn't remember saying it, as weird as that is. I don't know if that means I'm ultra professional or not professional at all, But
I think you're in the moment. And I'll tell you what I saw you do after you said that, because you're going, I mean, you're like ripping, you're ripping this. You're going, oh, Canada, you have a new Bassmaster Classic champion. And when you said that, and Gussie, I remember you guys giving each other a high five, and you could hear the thump on the mic. And then when Gussie stepped forward, you were behind him, and you paced back once and then came back like a tiger. And I was like, dude, he was so jacked up, like you were so jacked up at that moment. And partly, primarily just because you just announced a new Bassmaster Classic champion, but also relating this to your country and your culture and your relationship to Gussie. Even though I know you're neutral across the board, that had to mean a lot to you and your country and all the people that have dreamt about, doing something like this, from the Johnston brothers to, now Cooper Gallant and everybody that from Canada, that, because it almost, when I talk to Canadians about bass fishing, I mean, Canadians are incredible bass fishermen. We all know that, but Canada fishing Canadian circuits is not the same as coming down here and fishing the Bassmasters elites, because if it was, no one would be doing it. Americans would be going to Canada to try to fish that circuit. And so for this to happen, for your country, I'm American and I bleed red, white, and blue, but I was really happy for you. I was happy for Gussie, happy for Canada, and all those people that dream about, all the people that came down and rented that ridiculous house in Knoxville. I was happy for everyone. And one of the first thoughts that crossed my mind was, this is really, really great for bass, because I mean, it's been done with Takahiro Omori in Japan, but man, this was really the first classic that I've been to that felt international, with all the Aussies here, all the Japanese people here, all the Canadians here. Like I've even gotten texts from my friends in Brazil and Mexico talking about trying to recruit their top anglers in the peacock bass fishing world and in the Mexican bass tournament circuit, trying to get them to come in up here and start fishing opens to try to qualify for the elites, because this has gone international. I think it's tremendous. And you did a hell of a job, Dave. It's always exciting to hear you on stage. I know you don't like to hear that stuff, but I'm just telling you, I'm speaking from the fans' perspective. You did a freaking marvelous job.
Well, thank you. I'm not good at those. No, I agree with you though. Like, it is a huge thing internationally. I think that, it's real easy to be like, oh, a Canadian guy won. Oh, that's cool. It's the first of this. But I think that I agree with you. Like, the international feel of bass fishing has never been stronger. You know what I mean? And the Aussies being there was huge. But like, you just look at Takumi and the following that he has. It's pretty amazing. Like, it's very, very cool to see how that's all gone. But like, when you're actually up there on the stage, I don't think of the moment until after. You know what I mean? Then after, you're like, oh wow, it was the classic. But I mean, I think it's probably the same as when you're shooting, dude. Like, when you're shooting, if your guy's hooked a fish that might win him the Bassmaster Classic, it's not like you're shooting it any different. It's not like you're in your mind being like, oh, I got to frame this different. This is a classic shot. You're just shooting it to the best of your abilities.
True.
And I think it's the same in my line of work. You know what I mean? You're just trying to announce it to the best of your ability, give it a call that makes sense. And some of them work, some of them don't. But yeah, no,
it's got to be a pinch yourself, or some kind of a different feeling when you first walk up on stage at the day one weigh-in, where, I mean, this is just incredible. It's incredible that the vision that Ray Scott had has become this. And it's not like the Bassmaster Classic has just turned into this instant, Super Bowl of bass fishing. This has been going on for years, but with social media platforms and everyone's got a camera on their phone and all the content that's being delivered out there into digital space, it seems that much more bigger. And when you walk into a place like, I don't know if you know this, but Thompson Bowling Arena is the largest on-campus basketball arena in the
Really?
country. It is.
I
When
didn't
they
know
built it, they built it to hold 26,000 people at full capacity when the men's basketball team is playing, or the women's. And when they were really good, they would fill that thing up. And I think it held 26,000 people. So as I was judging the crowd, I felt like on day 3, there was probably 15,000 people inside. I don't know the exact number, but that's what it seemed like. And that's a freaking big crowd. We're talking about bass fishing. Bass fishing.
Yeah, it's amazing. It amazes me every
It's
year
mind-boggling.
that many people show up, and I'm thankful for each and every one of them. But it is amazing. I mean, it's an amazing event. It's so much bigger than the actual tournament. You know what I mean? Like when you see everything going on in town with everything that has anything to do with fishing has something going on there. You know what I mean? Whether it be the Hall of Fame deal, and there's all different things happening. And the Classic is so, yeah, no, long answer to your question. When you're doing it, I don't think you think like that. I don't think the anglers think like that. I think that's the whole reason that the Classic weigh-in is so special to them, that coming through the doors, because I think anglers do as much as they can to forget that it's the Classic. They just try to fish. And then we remind them in the morning that, no, this isn't just a tournament. But then they get back to fishing. Then all of a sudden their boat comes out, and yeah, they're doing media. They've got a bunch of media to do on the way to weigh in, but then they come out in this arena. And that's, to me, what makes that event so special, because in our sport, they don't have that moment. They don't, in golf, you can sink the putt in front of thousands of people and get that reaction from the crowd, and everybody's watching live. In our sport, it has been so anti that for so long. We see it on Bass Live, but you don't get that fan reaction moment. Nobody gets to see that moment where everybody just like, wow, you did it, you won. That's why I think the Classic is so special, because it's a fan's opportunity. And that's honestly all that I am, is a fan. Like the same crap, like you talk about me pacing back and forth stuff. Dude, what do you think I was like to watch this crap with before I did it for a living? I mean, I was still an idiot that yelled stupid stuff. I just didn't have a microphone, you know what I mean? But I still remember jumping out of my chair every time someone wins, regardless of being on the stage or not. So yeah, no, it's
We're all fans.
The
anglers are fans, the production team are fans, the writers, the studio people. We're all freaking the biggest fans of our own sport.
Yeah.
And it's truly, for those of you that have never been to the Bassmaster Classic, I would highly encourage you to go.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's great that you get to watch it live and all the coverage, but I would highly encourage you to put this on your bucket list of things to do in your life. Go to the Bassmaster Classic at some point, because it is an incredible, everybody's there. You get to see the biggest stars, old school, new school, middle school, everybody, all the schools are there, all the brands. The expo is growing exponentially. It's just one of those things where I don't ever want to miss another one either. And I want to say this too about the stage. How about Brandon Lester coming out to Rocky Top? And how about the birthday? I want to tell you the birthday wish that you guys gave his daughter. His daughter turned 5 years old on day 3 of the Bassmaster Classic in Knoxville, Tennessee. And I was on the back, not the backstage, but the stage on the opposite end of the floor from you, doing the interviews with Tommy Sanders, Davey Height, and Mark Zona, doing the post
Sunday
edit
night show.
studio, Sunday night show. And And so when you came out, we were in a break. And when Brandon Lester came up on stage, I just started filming it because with my camera, because I wanted to send it to Kimberly, his wife, so that they would have that Rocky Top and his day 3, Super 6 deal on video. And then you guys did the whole birthday celebration, and you're like, on 3, I want you guys, everyone, to wish her a happy birthday. 1, 2, 3, and everyone said happy birthday. And I got all that on video on my phone, and I sent that to Brandon and Kimberly, and I could feel Kimberly crying when I sent it to her, because her daughter's going to have that for the rest of her life. And so that was a really, really cool moment, not only for Brandon, his wife, his family, his child, but the entire arena was like, it lit up when y'all did that. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, there was a lot of those cool moments this classic. One of my favorites was on Saturday and Sunday, and I don't know how much of this you got to see because, like I said, you're working and you're not there all of it. But we did this Light It Up for Ray thing, which was so cool, where I showed up at the classic and I said, wow, I had this story where I'm like, as a tribute to Ray, what's built Bass, not one person, it's one person here, one person there. And it's like all of us together shine this really bright light on the sport we love. So one by one, I would encourage the crowd to light it up. You know what I mean? And as a tribute to Ray Scott. And that wasn't my name. We were in a production meeting and I'm like, so I'm going to do this. And they're like, light it up for Ray. And I said, perfect. That's the perfect name. So we lit it up for Ray, and it was one of the coolest moments. And I had the best seat to see it. You know what I mean? To stand back in the stage and you just watch all these Bassmaster fans with their flashlights on. It was literally, it was just a very, very cool tribute and a very fitting tribute. And
that's pretty
I think it's something we're going to do every year because it's just that cool. You know what I mean? It's so cool to see. And it tells the story that Ray Scott left us. You know what I mean? One by one, he contacted these people and turned these lights on throughout the bass fishing world. They were always there. They were lights that existed, but they shone.
That's incredible
in their own area. But when you think about it, one by one, and I don't think I ever explained it right on the stage, but I felt it right. You know what I mean? Like, that's for me to watch it coming to life. That's what it felt like. You know what I mean?
Helen Sevier to Bob Cobb to Roland Martin to Hank Parker to Bill Dance, all these people that really, oh dude, I got chill bumps. You know what that reminds me of? That video clip I sent you from Red Rocks when Whiskey Myers was playing Stone. You asked me to send you that clip, and everybody, it used to be lighters, right?
Yeah.
Big lighters, and now it's phone lights. And it's extremely powerful. It's like this, it's like a memorial service or a moment of silence or a moment of honor for whoever it is you're honoring, be it, Ray Scott or whoever. And you're right, that I didn't get to see that, but it just gave me chills. And having been a part of this new show called, The Chase, about the history of
The
Ray
cast.
Scott. I'm sorry. The cast. Yeah. Duh. Cast. It brings that to light where it was the initial fire that Ray Scott had, the vision, and he knew who to hire one by one. And literally it grew one person at a time, from those people that started the marketing end of it to the people, like Gene Gilliland, that figured out how to take care of the fish so there would be a low mortality rate, to help public relations with the locals at these fisheries. That everything about it is so true. And that tribute you did, I wish I would have seen that. Is it on? Wonder if that's on file somewhere.
I'm sure it's on somewhere. People keep sending me little clips of it, but I'm sure we captured it somehow. Well, I know Ben shot some really cool stuff of it because he included in one of his short little videos that he put together earlier this week that it was awesome.
Dude, what about Ben Oliver?
Oh, he's a stud. He's so fun to work with.
He is so
Ben,
much fun to work with. We're gonna
yeah.
work. We talk quite a bit on the phone, and we're gonna do some more work together. Just in non-endemic. He wants to come out to Colorado and shoot a boxing documentary with my son and his gym and all that. He's fabulous.
Yeah, he's great. And it's weird because I've worked with a lot of different editors, and generally it takes editors a while to kind of read my weird mind. Like I don't talk in words. So oftentimes I'll just be like, do a, and then, you come down with a,
Yeah,
then
yeah,
reads all of those
yeah,
for whatever
yeah.
reason. Like, so he's
He
so fun to
uses a
work with.
sound effect that you give as a visual effect, right? He knows how to match them up, right?
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, in that video that he came out, that 1 minute video, like me and him were talking about that song, Rocky Top song, but I don't even know who sings that real slow version. But we talked about it like before he even cut that video. We talked to him like, it's so calm and quiet outside, but inside that arena is just fireworks. And when he brought that, I'm like, dude, it's exactly the weird crap that was in my head that he's so talented. He's incredibly talented. We're not good at our job, or we would tell you. We're talking about Ben Oliver, one of the Bassmaster videographers, and he only gets to come to certain events now.
He's the
Because
media director for corporate Walmart.
yeah, got
Like, that's who he
sold
is.
out was what he did.
Yeah,
He sold
yeah,
out.
yeah.
Isn't that the
Well,
dumbest thing people tell people? Like if you get
sold
successful, it's
out.
like, he sold out. No,
Oh my God.
he became an
He
adult is
cashed
what he
in.
did.
Yeah. He cashed in, baby. Like you would turn that down if that came your way, right? So I want to explain the slow version of Rocky Top. Can I do that?
Yeah.
So that started this past year during football season. Tennessee always plays South Carolina sometime around Halloween, and that version of Rocky Top is, I believe it's the Osborne brothers who originally sang Rocky Top, but they remastered it and slowed it down. And the reason they did that was for an edited cut that that the University of Tennessee did for their football team to promote and hype up
This
the
one, right?
Tennessee.
Listen. Is this the one
Yeah,
you've heard?
yeah. That's it. They did that for the Halloween game against South Carolina, and the whole cut for that, the marketing or the promo cut for that game was supposed to be spooky and scary because it was a Halloween game. So that's why they slowed that version down.
Wow.
Yep.
Wow.
Yep.
Well, Ben used it to make an awesome, awesome video with like he
did.
does always. I mean, some great stuff. Okay, so you said there was some stuff that happened on the water. I mean, I knew we'd be all over the place for this. This is the classic. Talk to me about Lester and how he was fishing and what happened on the water this week.
So
for you.
mostly he was throwing a lipless crankbait, a rattle trap, a small, like a number 6 rattle trap or something, into muddy, shallow water. And he was relating it to rocks, individual rocks that were in shallow water. And, he definitely had a pattern. He had like 3 coves where feeder creeks came in, and they all basically had the same habitat, different locations. They might have been 5 miles apart, but they were very, very similar in habitat. And if one wasn't clicking, the other one was. When that one shut down, he would go back to another one and it would turn on, or none of them turned on. And he just kept making that rotation. Well, on day 3, he was good for 2 days. Day 3, like I said, I mean, he struggled, and you could tell like his attitude was the first 2 hours he didn't have a fish, and he's going, okay, well, I'm not gonna get rattled. Everything's
Yeah.
cool. And he's just playing it off because, you're fighting that beast that wants to just come out and go, it's not working. What am I going to do now? And so, I think he's just staying calm and being Brandon Lester. And then he gets out of that little rotation. And the first thing he does is he starts flipping a jig into these rocky bluffs because he caught that one big one. he wasn't necessarily fishing places that he had been to. He was just looking at his map and going to new bluffs and flipping these bluffs, hoping he'd run into a big one, right? And that didn't happen. So then, he goes back to his pattern and goes back to one of these feeder creek coves, one of these little ponds, I call it, and that's not working. So then he's moving out to some brush piles. He's like, well, if they're not in this shallow water, they got to be close. So he'd move out to deeper water and check that with his active target. And then, he starts flipping a wacky rig, and he's like, he's changing his strategies, thinking, okay, this ain't working. And he goes through literally probably 6 or 7 different strategies or techniques, trying to find something that he thought might be in relating to the calm day we had, because there was no wind on day 3, and it went from, good conditions to really calm and dead, no activity, less, shad. There's a ton of shad in that river system. If the people that don't know it, there are shad everywhere. They're, for 2 days, they were flicking like little flakes of glitter all over the lake. And day 3, it wasn't happening nearly as much. So, I don't think he ever spun out. He just exhausted all of the techniques that he thought would work. And then again, like I said, man, he was running out of time, and he was to the point to where he's like, oh, well, this was fun. I was still got to fish the Bassmaster Classic. I'm in the top 6. This was still a great event. I'm going to hold my head high and all that. And then he pulls up, he's like, I'm going to go try one more spot. He goes back to the very first spot that he tried on day 1 and starts catching them. And there were 2 people on planet Earth at that point going, holy crap, this might actually happen. Actually 3, because Kim was texting me because she was watching Bass Track. She's like, just keep praying, keep catching them. Like, don't waste any time. I mean, literally seconds mattered. And if he got hung up in a limb or something, it was a waste of time. And the clock seemed like it's ticking faster because he starts catching these fish. And man, there for a moment, I was like, holy crap, if he catches a 4-pounder right now, then he's closing that gap really, really quickly. If he catches 2 4-pounders right now, this is unbelievable. It didn't happen. But, as a camera guy and the only other person in the boat experiencing this with that angler, the energy level was really high. So yeah, man, it was like when it was all over, it's kind of like, you always say you got to come down. You got to come down after your events, especially the classic. And sometimes when we get off the water, I feel the same way. I just want to go be by myself for a few minutes because there's so much energy spent just watching this happen.
Yeah, and it's got to be. That's why you think about the anglers too. That's the weird thing you see. Like I ran into Cox right after weigh-in. Me and Schmidt have traded texts. He's a little under the weather, so we hadn't talked. But that must just be tenfold for them. You know what I mean? Like when you go through it, you're just like, man, it was so like, that's what Cox kept saying backstage. He says, I've never watched it that close. He says, I've never been at the side of the stage when he says, I've been in classics, but I'm in the crowd or I'm, busy when the person wins. But he said, I've never been that close to it when it really happens, when somebody's life changes. And like that's all he just kept saying, which I mean, is just kind of explains what that's like. You think as an angler, you go through it as a camera person or whoever that's involved in the event, it's exhausting. But as an angler, you're like, will I ever have this shot again? You know what I mean? Is this ever like, it's easy to be like, oh yeah, you got second in a classic, you'll win yours. You'll get third in a classic. There's some people that never get more than that. And that's it. Like it's such and that's what the classic is, dude. Like, for whatever reason, it stands out to me more and more. It's just like, all right, so we're going to have this fishing tournament. All right, cool. We like fishing tournaments. What do we do? Well, normally we pre-fish for 3 days and then we start the tournament and it's 4 days. But we're not going to allow you to pre-fish 3 days before it. We're going to allow you to pre-fish a week before it. And then we're going to throw in a bunch of things that make you uncomfortable, like dressing in suits and all sorts of stuff to go to do all these different media things and dinners. And then after you've been off the water just enough that you don't have really much contact with it anymore, we're going to put you back on the water, but you're going to be with a media person for a day. And then we're going to pull you off the water. We're going to send you to that dinner that night. The next day, we're going to have a media day. And then you're going to get the fish tournament. So it's literally like a fishing tournament with a bunch of hurdles built around it. You know what I mean? When you think about it.
Super Bowl. It's the Super Bowl of bass. I mean, it really is.
Yeah.
Right? It's the same thing. It's the Super Bowl. They have to go through all that stuff. And then at the end of the day on Sunday, they have to go out and play a game. And they've been distracted. They have every reason to completely spin out, lose their minds because all these other distractions were going on. But when the bell goes off or the gun goes off and you announce these anglers' names and they freaking stomp the throttle on their boat and they're taking off going down river. When you're going down river, aside from the fans and whatnot, it's just another tournament, really. I mean, that's kind of how it feels. Once you take off, it's just another tournament. You're going fishing.
Here's one thing that blows me away, and I'd like your opinion on it. And I got this information from the dudes at Best on Tour, who put out a pretty awesome newsletter. It's free. You should check it out. Best on Tour, it's called, and it's a newsletter. You sign up, and they give stats around tournaments and stuff. Only 7% of the classic field moped or Demiki rigged it the way Gussie won. The most prevalent thing that was done in the classic, 28% of them caught fish in a jig, 17% on a bladed jig, 11% on a crankbait. And here's one that stands out to me that's fun, 2% on a buzzbait. So literally
throwing a buzzbait.
There was a few of them that said on stage, I threw a buzzbait. But if you look at 2% on a buzzbait and then to say 7% of them fished the way they watched it be won a year previous, not that different a time of year, but literally a year previous, Gussie put out the blueprint. Why do you think so few of them did it in the tournament?
Because they're not as comfortable at it as some other guys are. Because as well as I do, most of these guys, when a guy wins a tournament, like let's just say Lee Livesey wins a tournament or Drew Cook at Santee Cooper, most of these guys win a tournament at an event that specializes at the time of the year, the way it sets up, how they grew up fishing, what they're really good at, particularly someone like Drew Cook bed fishing like he did at Santee Cooper last year. That's what they're comfortable doing, right? And so I think they choose not to do that because they're not comfortable. Maybe they're good at it, but they're not comfortable doing it on that system in the setup. There's a lot of people that avoided. They could have gone in and invaded Gussie's location. It would have been totally legal for anyone
lots
to have
did
gone.
though too.
They
there
did.
Was lots that did.
They did, but there was also that whole, it's like walking on thin ice too, right? I mean, it wasn't like. Do you feel like it was invaded more than you thought it would be, or do you think it was invaded less than it was?
I don't know where I'm at with it, dude. Like I've argued with it in my head for so long. Like I honestly feel like this is a situation where Gussie got rewarded for being the person that he is in some ways. You know what I mean? Like there was 10 to 15 anglers that I talked to before tournament even started that said to me, I didn't even look at it. And these are anglers who probably could have done it.
I feel the same way.
But there was like 10 to 15 of them said, I didn't even look at it. It's not right. Mm-hmm. But then I'm like, well, is it not right? I mean, he won a tournament on it. I've always been a believer. If you win a tournament, you shoot a TV show somewhere where you've sold that. You know what I mean? You gave it away. But then I asked Gussie about it and I said, well, how do you make those kind of decisions? And Gussie's like, if I don't feel right about it, I don't do it. Mm-hmm. But that's a weird spot to be because there's a lot of people who probably feel fine about it that would do it.
Sure.
So I don't know what the right thing to do is. There's part of me that thinks like what Gussie unearthed there is so unique and so different. As a competitor, if I go by the Gussie way of doing things and think that if it makes me feel bad, I shouldn't do it, I probably shouldn't do it. But as a straight up competitor, I've heard people say that if you didn't do that, you didn't do the right job for the companies you work with.
You just gave it away.
I'm not there either. Like I don't know what the right thing to do is, but I do think it's amazing that Gussie dominated this fishery. We'll say 6 days in a row, not 7, because the last day he only caught 2 fish, ended up winning the tournament, but he dominated this fishery for 6 competition days in a row. And that's so rare. I mean, it doesn't matter what you're doing. People pick up on it and people do it. I think it was a situation where people showed a lot of respect towards Gussie because of who he is and how he treats people. I think it's also a situation where he's plain old better at it than everybody. I mean, whether you like, there's guys that have tried to do it that sat beside him and said, I can't get him to bite, but he can. I mean, we're seeing somebody who is one of the best in the world at doing what he's doing. But it amazes me that only 7% of the anglers did it. Like you would never see that in another fishery.
I hate to get into this too, but just for a second,
but I'm
going to open a can of worms.
Let's do that.
You know, we've had 3 tournaments this year, 2 in Florida, 1 at the Bassmaster Classic. All 3 have been won with front-facing sonar.
Yeah.
Right? And you look at what Gussie did on a pretty, I mean, how many people have been fishing that area like Gussie did after he won in 2020? You know what I'm saying?
Lots of people.
Yeah, exactly.
Like every tournament gets one there. Like 24 pounds the week before got one there. The only difference is they're allowed to throw an Alabama rig. And
I heard people saying, anglers saying before the tournament's going to get one there again, at least within, and I would be like, you mean within a half a mile of that? No, within 400 yards of that. That's where the winning fish are. And so you put all this together and you start thinking about, you know, the people that don't necessarily aren't favorable towards front-facing sonar technology coming into the sport of bass fishing. But then you listen to Gussie, particularly on day 3, where he raised, and which is a little part of the detail in what he was doing. He raised over 100 fish on day 3. He just couldn't catch them. Yeah. Right. He caught 2. I think he hooked up on a couple more and missed them or whatever, but he only
had a few shorts, had a few that were.
Yep. He landed 2 keepers, 18-inch plus. And he talked about them feeling the pressure, them adjusting to front facing sonar. So you take that in consideration, apply it to all the conversations that have been held this year thus far since, February, and what, it doesn't make it automatic, and it doesn't make it, I mean, sometimes it locks you into something that you probably should change up doing, but you're seeing them and you can't catch them. And it's that much more difficult. And I think what Gussie did epitomizes all those things that we've talked about and a lot of the debates that have gone on. Even though he did win the tournament, he didn't win it with a full bag of fish. And it was an extremely challenging day for him. I found the details and what he's doing and how he's doing it to be incredibly interesting and unique.
Yeah. And I mean, he's the best at it. I mean, it's weird. It's so weird in this sport how we are reluctant to tell people that. You know what I mean? Like, he's just better than most people doing that. Now, will people, if we go back there, will people put more pressure on it? I'm sure, but I'm sure it's getting hammered as we speak. But
you still have to understand the microscopic details and what he was doing. And even at that, you can tell someone that all you want. They still might not be able to go out there and do it because he was so in tune. I've heard so many times people saying, "Hey, well, he was just ice fishing on open water. And I'm like,
Yeah.
dude, it's way, you don't move around like that ice fishing. You're not, that's not, he I mean, there may have been some style or some, what is the word I'm looking for? Some detail that made him that good at it through ice fishing.
Well, you
But
fish vertically. I mean, he's very good at fishing vertically. But I mean,
right,
that technique started when that really, and Gussie would be the better one to explain it. But if you ask me, that stuff exploded on Rainy Lake, and that's when it first started. And it was the Linders, not not Al Linder. It was
Ron,
James. No, not
no,
Ron. I mean, they were all doing it, but it was James and Billy Linder who won that tournament. They won several tournaments, and basically what they were catching is these pelagic smallmouth bass that were eating smelt way out, and nobody was catching them. You'd catch them on a jerkbait when they're up shallow. Other than that, you just mark them on your graph and you couldn't catch them. They figured out a way to do it, and that's where it was called moping, because it looks like you're just moping around. You know what I mean? I think Ron Linder named it moping, and but that's where that came from. But dude, I remember being at a tournament on Rainy Lake 20 something years ago, and Gussie was in that tournament, and I remember us all talking about how that, the two big techniques that were everybody was using there was that and the fluff, the little mayfly, or not mayfly, but the little marabou jigs that are so popular
oh
now. But those
right,
are the two things. But so, like, just say that to yourself. That's 20 years of doing that. And you think that you're
exactly.
going to be like, okay, so I saw him do it a year ago and I spent a little time learning how to do it. I mean, 20 years of doing it. He's just simply better at it than most people. And I think that we saw being a good guy pay off big time in this event. Like, I really think that that's a lot of what you saw with Gussie. Because just the amount
Karma.
of anglers that would walk on stage and say, I hope Gussie wins. I hope Gussie wins. Like, pretty amazing. It was pretty phenomenal. And I think people will downgrade that way he caught them. It's something he learned ice fishing or whatever, because I mean, he's Canadian. Why not say that? But I think there's more to it than just sitting on a bucket and ice fishing. I mean, what he did was phenomenal. I'm really interested to see what happens with him now in Canada. Like, in my opinion, he should be on the cover of everything. In my opinion, those three guys, and now four with Coop, should have been on the cover of everything from the beginning. Like, they're doing stuff that has never been done. They're showing a path that Canadian anglers up till now didn't think even existed. The amount of people that event specifically motivated. Pay attention. 10 years from now, there's going to be people winning events that are going to say,
Watch the opens.
yeah, I was
what I'm saying?
watching Gussie win, and seeing Gussie win made me feel like I could win, and that's why I'm here. Like, I mean, it really is. It was pretty freaking amazing.
It really was. And I went to that after that late night party that the Canadians had at that crazy
Yes.
house. And that was really sort of the story. Like, without people saying they were inspired, what happened, most of the people in that house were from Canada, and everyone was so proud. Everyone was waiting on Gussie to get there. They wanted to be able to touch Gussie and be a part of the whole show. But at the end of the day, that's really about inspiration. And everyone there has some, relationship with bass fishing or tournament fishing or brands, building products or whatever it is. And for Gussie to have done it, I mean, Chris Johnston inspired people with his win, initially, but for Gussie to come in and win the Bassmaster Classic, that, I mean, you could feel that energy at that party with all the Canadians there, how inspiring and what that's going to do, what that's doing right now for the future of Canadian tournament anglers.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how it affects it. I mean, I'm interested to see how it affects it long term with anglers. I'm interested to see how it affects it long term with media. Because if you ask me, Gussie, I mean, there's been 6 Canadians in total that have ever qualified for the Bassmaster Classic. and
Wow.
one of them has won. Just say that to yourself. Like, it is pretty amazing when you look at six Canadians have qualified ever. And Gussie's a Bassmaster Classic champion. So and
Cooper
regardless
did
of
it
where
in his first Open series,
what's that?
right? Cooper Gallant, he qualified for the elites. He went and fished the Opens last year and qualified his first year in the Opens.
No, he fished the Opens the year before.
He did?
Yeah, he fished the Opens. That's when when he lost to Corey. Corey won that Open and beat him on the last day. If you remember, that was the year
at
previous.
St. Lawrence.
But yeah, no, I mean
Clayton.
Yeah, and I expect Coop to be around for quite some. I mean, Coop. Nobody's surprised in Canada that Coop was the next one. I mean, I think you'd get some argument from people who will be next now, because there's a lot of people that you know could be next, but I don't think anyone was arguing that Coop was the next one. Coop is an incredibly talented angler. That was a weird one for me too, to have him on stage, because he was one of the guys that got him passes to the splash bowl years ago. And I remember leaving the stage after weighing and putting my arm around him and being like, dude, you keep working, you'll be here. And I mean, he was a little kid at the time. So to actually see him on the classic stage was pretty emotional and pretty awesome. But I think that it's going to be like that way for quite some time. I mean, all four of the Canadians fishing the Elite Series are incredible anglers, and you want to talk about motivation. I mean, I bet you that motivated them even more so. You know what I mean? Not that they needed any motivation, but yeah, it's going to be wild.
The movement will be much bigger and faster than, let's say, what happened with the Japanese anglers, because there's so much space between the United States and Japan just geographically. And Canada's, basically a funnel into the United States, particularly right down from Lake Ontario all the way down through all these states, through Tennessee, North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, all the way to Florida and Alabama. It's just a main vein into the United States mecca of bass fishing. And I think, like you said, it's going to grow, and it's going to grow much faster and quicker than what happened with the Japanese culture into the professional bass fishing world.
Yeah,
I love it. I love it.
I love it, and I also just think it's easier now in some ways. Like, it's more. I mean, it's easier than coming from Japan. That's for sure. I mean, you're literally, yeah, you're not speaking a different language or anything like that. But it's just like the map is fairly simple, and when you see, once you get there, anything is possible. You know what I mean? I think that's one of the weird things that happened in the switch. I think people would come and they'd be like, well, yeah, but I'm not Kevin, or I'm not so-and-so. Well, now they're like, well, why not me? You know what I mean? Like, if somebody as down to earth as Jeff Gustafson can be the Bassmaster Classic, it makes a lot of people feel like they can be the Bassmaster Classic champion themselves. So
how about back-to-back Bassmaster Classics getting won in aluminum boats?
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, that's probably a fairly shallow topic, pun intended, but at the same time, it's kind of like, I don't know what it proves, but it proves something. You don't have to be in a glass boat to win a Bassmaster Classic and be on top of the bass fishing world forever.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, your percentage of chances of winning in aluminum is the exact percentage of the number of people that are competing in aluminum. I mean, there was a lot of classes where nobody was ever in aluminum. 0% chance for it to happen then.
That's right.
We've had a higher percentage chance. And dude, Gussie's aluminum win is I mean, Gussie is so synonymous with Lund. I mean, from the part of the world that he's from, it's pretty amazing. It was all, oh, dude, I know what I got to talk about, because I did dirt him last year and I didn't even remember dirting him. But Michael Middleton is my producer that's in my ear during the Bassmaster Classic. So he tells me when to speed up, slow down, and all that sort of stuff. Well, last year, I guess we threw him under the bus because of the power pay. So this year I have to build him back up. You probably didn't see it because you're never there at the beginning of a weigh-in, but dude, I got like an intro. He made a freaking wrestler intro of me. It shows me getting arrested and everything. It really is. I mean, it means
Wow.
nothing to anybody else, but it meant everything to me. So way to go, Middleton. You nailed the classic
I
because,
love that guy.
oh no, great. I mean, our whole crew that we work with at Bass is really incredible. And they're all the same. I mean, they just want to make a little impact on this week's classic. You know what I mean? Like they want to make impact on the sport.
I think that what you just said right there goes a long way. And what I'd like to say too about the production team, everyone from like, I mean, everyone that sets up the the platform to the stage setup, the production team, the truck, Howard. I mean, everybody involved, all the camera guys, all the intermediate people that just come and work the classic to help us out so that because we have so much to do, we're so busy and we're so focused on trying to make a great production. Everyone there has the same spirit and everyone there wants to do the best that they can because this is going out. This is literally, being distributed all over the world. People in Australia are staying up in the wee hours of the night in Japan to watch all these things, all this stuff. And, for us to have been on, we were on FS1, we were on regular Fox network, we had our own live stream going and this content was going out in millions of different directions. And I just do want to give kudos to the entire Bassmaster plus JM Associates production team for doing what they do and how it all comes together so well and how professional this little circus that we live in is. I love our Bassmaster family. It's freaking awesome.
It is. And you said earlier about like, if you've never been to a classic, you need to come. And it was funny because it seemed to be something that got repeated throughout the week, but I've always felt this way. The Bassmaster Classic is literally one of the few events that you go to that you've watched on TV and you think is gigantic. And then you go to it and you're like, wait a second, it's way bigger than I ever imagined. I mean, most times TV makes things look bigger. You know what I mean? And you go to it and you're like, yeah, it was as big as I thought. The Classic is the exact opposite. Whether you're competing in it, whether you're just attending it, whether you're working it, the Bassmaster Classic seems one thing growing up watching it, but when you actually go to it and attend it, it is way bigger than that. And literally you leave there being like, I don't ever want to not be at one of these, whether you're a competitor, somebody working, or, a fan. I mean, it's that big of an event. It's freaking, and here's the way, do you go through that where you're like, I go through a weird thing where I'm like exhausted. I hit different waves after the classic. You know what I mean? Like when it's first done, you're in such a high, and then you kind of go down a little bit, and then you go up, and then you go down. But then you're like, oh, we got to wait a whole other year to freaking do that again, which kind of sucks. I mean, I'd like to do that every week.
I guess then it wouldn't be what it is. I go through this roller coaster of physical and emotional. It's almost stressful physically because you don't want to miss anything. I don't. I mean, I go down to the bar just to see who's down at the bar. And then you end up sitting there talking to Bob Cobb or Kevin Van Dam or whoever you're sitting at the bar with, and then other people are walking in and you can see the fans that are sitting in the bar. They're going, hey, there's Dave Mercer. Check it out, man. Or whoever it is walking in. And it's just, you don't want to miss anything. So I end up thinking to myself, okay, well, I'm going to get, every night of the classic, I got to go to bed early because I got to get up earlier than normal because we have to be at the ramp much earlier than normal to check our equipment and be ready to jump in the boat and blah, blah, blah. But then, I end up staying up till 1:30 in the morning, and then I have to get up at 4. And then, you're fighting this during the day because you want to do the best. It's just go to the Bassmaster Classic. Go. If you don't know what we're talking about, it's because you haven't been to one. Go to the Bassmaster Classic.
Yeah. And I always feel like the week after the classic, I apologize to a bunch of people because I literally feel like I see more people than I'll see at a regular elite event, but you just don't see Like even me and you, it's like a high five here and there. Like on Sunday, we stopped and took a picture together at takeoff because we're literally just always passing each other. And when I first started, and I've told this story before, but when I first started was at the Classic. That was my first event. And I remember just being a zombie afterwards, just sitting there. And Tommy was on one side of me and Zona was on the other. We're just sitting on a couch and craziness is happening. You know what I mean? Like it's the toast for the champion and the whole industry's there. And we're just sitting there and I'm literally like a zombie. And I remember Tommy said to me, "You'll like the Elite so much better." And I remember thinking, what is he talking about? This is the Classic. How could you like anything better than the Classic? But he was right. You do like the Elite so much better as a experience. Like me and you get to have dinner. Me and you get to hang out on the dock. We have conversations. You know, if spectators come, you can spend time with them. But the Classic is such a, you're on hyperdrive the whole time. It literally, the next week, I always feel like I have all these names and people flashing through my head where I was like, yeah, I high-fived that person on the way past, but never really got to spend any time with them. It's just it's a free-for-all. But thank God for it, man. If it wasn't like that, we
wouldn't be having this conversation. And it wouldn't be what it is. And it's just great.
Hey, how about Scott Canterbury? Speaking of awkward things that happened at the Classic, full on WWE boo from the crowd for Scott Canterbury. He takes the lead at the Bassmaster Classic. It's Sunday. And then before he goes to, I mean, it's an Alabama thing. It has to come out of your mouth. I guess you fight it every chance you do, every chance you get for those words to not come out. But eventually they boil like a kettle. They have to come out. Says a nice little speech. Is about to go load the hot seat. Turns to the mic and goes, "Roll Tide." And
in Thompson Bowling Arena in Knoxville.
The entire place rained. Like it's the only time I've ever seen a leader go to the seat and just hear boo. Like the amount of people that was booing was shocking and yet exciting at the same time for me, because I was like, wow, I love that people are getting that passionate about it. But you probably shouldn't say Roll Tide there. It doesn't go over well.
That would be like singing Rocky Top in Tuscaloosa. Go Vols. I mean, the rival, that is an ancient rivalry. It's always the third Saturday in October, and it's the most beautiful time in Tennessee or the most beautiful time in Alabama. And that goes back into, I mean, the annals of college football rivalry in the Southeastern Conference. And when
that's a word I avoid.
I know, but
it's
spelled differently. It's spelled differently than the one you're talking about.
So where is it in college? What is it again? It's in the
annals.
what?
I call it the annals.
I'm so immature.
In the archives of college football history, whether they're good or bad, you really don't know for sure who's going to win the game on the third. And a lot of people don't understand how big that rivalry is between Alabama. I mean, if you go back and watch Forrest Gump, when Forrest Gump was playing football for Bear Bryant, it was against Tennessee. If you watch it, it was against Tennessee. So, that rivalry means a lot. And that's where those boos were coming from. And, I'm sure the boos, thank goodness it was boos and not FUs.
Speaking of FUs, I got to address it because I know I keep getting messages about it. I don't know who our DJ was for the day one weigh-in, but they wouldn't tell me who it was. Let's just put it that way, because it was really.
I didn't even get to go to the first day one weigh-ins.
Yeah, you didn't miss much. It was
really
a lot of badly timed music. Really, it was shocking. It wasn't our guy. But it got fixed by day two, so it was wonderful.
Like what kind of music was it?
Well, no, it was the right music. It was just the wrong time. Timing's everything, like they tell you. It doesn't matter whether it's real estate or trying to kiss a girl or playing music in the Bassmaster Classic. Timing is everything. And so there'd be, it's pretty standard. So-and-so comes out and their song blares and then it kind of dips down. I yell the weight, and generally they'll pick up some fish and hold them up again, and the music will come back up. well, we would have times where like somebody'd come in and there'd be no music. And then I'd go to say their wait, and then the music would come on and it would scare the crap out of everybody. So I tried to ignore it for the longest time. But then it was unignorable. But it got
I
fixed.
did not. This is the first time I've heard of all that.
I guess people could see my anger on stage because they're like, "What did you do to that DJ?" And I'm like, they wouldn't tell me who the DJ was. I asked who was playing the music, and they said, "It'll be better tomorrow." That's what they told me. But it was. But that's also the fun of a live event. You know what I mean? Like you're always you're always on the edge of disaster. You know what I mean? That's why it's fun. Like afterwards, when you get through it, you're like, well, we made it type thing, because there's always going to be little weird things like that happen. But all in all, I think it was a freaking awesome Bassmaster Classic. I don't know how they get much better. I'd like the fishing to be a bit better. I get that, but I think that's so uncontrollable. What are your thoughts?
I think Knoxville is just a classic place to have the classic.
Yeah,
everything's right there. So many people were talking about. I mean, I got Jolip Lures, the guy from Australia.
Aussie. Yeah,
Aussie. He was texting me this morning and telling me how much fun he had. He's back in Australia. It's almost like a downer because they're back and they wanted to be in Knoxville, how great the people were, how close proximity everything was, and how convenient Knoxville and festive and spirited Knoxville is when something like this happens. And I do hear people say, I wish the fishing was better. And while I agree with that, it's almost kind of like, for the Bassmaster Classic, it's almost better that it is challenging, right? That it is that kind of fishery to where, people really do have to go to the grinding stone to get a win. And I wouldn't hesitate to say that if we had a tournament there starting tomorrow again, that there would be more anglers on Gussie's spot. He's won his money there now. It's time to move on. Think about that. He's won $400,000 in less than 3 years on the Tennessee River in Knoxville, Tennessee.
Yeah, it's wild. It's wild.
It's crazy.
With one rod, one reel, and one bait. It's wild. It's incredible. And that's kind of how the night went on. Like the amount of times that I got to hang out with Gussie's friends and family a little bit the night before, and I've met a lot of them in previous things. And it was just weird. Like after he won, you'd just be like across a room, and I'd be looking at whoever, his buddy Brian, his mom, his dad, and we just start laughing. You wouldn't even say anything. You just get to like, how has this happened? Like, how did this happen? But that's what bass fishing is. And Gussie's parents are like the nicest. I mean, I want his mom to be my mom. Like, it really, dude. Like, so the night before, we're hanging out with them. They're having pizza. So the night before, she's talking to me and she grabs my hand, and this seems so weird from anybody, like if anybody else, but she's holding my hand. She's like, "You're so nice to Jeffrey. You're so nice to Jeff." And she starts like rubbing my finger. And I swear to you, like if anybody else does that, it sounds super weird. But with Gussie's mom, I was just like, I feel sniffly. Make me some milk and cookies. I don't know. It just made you feel like a little kid all of a sudden. Gussie's mom is so Gussie. So hanging out with his parents, seeing that all go down was pretty friggin'. I was gonna say friggin' there. I swear to you, it was supposed to be friggin', but it started to sound like the other word. Show. I would never use it. That's speaking of that, actually here. So in Australia, we should get on this topic real quick. In Australia, there's a word that they use on the regular that is not a word you ever hear in North America. It rhymes with hunt. You can take it from there. So like it became a thing that night that people were just joking, and they were just saying the hunt word over and over again. You're a good hunt. You're a bad hunt. You're a
right.
a shit hunt. So many different ways to say it.
Yeah.
So I got to apologize to all the people in the hotel lobby because there was, I mean, more women saying that word than I've ever seen. Like, and it was funny because at one point, was it Gussie or one of the Australians said it in front of Sarah, and all of a sudden they're like, "Oh, I'm sorry." They tried to explain it, and Sarah turns around. One of the moments that makes me love her so much. Turns around and says, "Don't worry, I'm not a shit hunt." And they loved it. They loved it. So yeah, it's just a word. It's 4 letters. Put in a certain way. So I almost swore on this show, and then I turned this into a whole show about swearing at the very end here. But
Hey, the rawness of Australians, of Aussies is just great. Like I love going to Australia. I love hanging out with Australian friends. I love that Carl Jocumsen is in the Elite Series. I love that he's got a huge following because Australians, particularly in our culture, are really, really fun people to hang out with.
yeah, they're great
cool.
people. They really
They
are
are.
great. I think it's because they were all criminals at one time. They're making.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody in Australia. That's. I mean, they weren't criminals, but their grandparents stole something.
Yeah. Their origins, their products, byproducts of a penal farm.
Yeah. Another word I avoid.
Yeah.
What a couple of idiots. Why does anyone listen to us?
They're gonna hate us after this show.
Hey, that's something that I was blown away by, dude. And I don't know that if you got an opportunity to see much of it, but dude, the amount of people that came up and mentioned the podcast, like everywhere I'd go, was shocking. Like, I mean, dude, I get to do a lot of cool things in my life. I get to, host a show. I get to work with Bass, but the amount of people that would specifically come up and be like, we really enjoy the podcast, or I'm a proud humper. I mean, it was just blew me away. And the only reason I'm bringing it up again is because I can't thank all of those amazing people enough, because as if we didn't have, I don't think either of us needed motivation to continue doing it. But man, if you ever did, just go to the Bassmaster Classic and you'll never want to stop doing them.
Yeah, I would say the same thing about the fans of this show and the people that were taking selfies and going, "Hey, Jake, I thought you were tall. You look taller on the podcast than you really are."
You look taller on the podcast.
I thought you were taller than that. but the amount of people that did mention something or want to take selfies all because of this podcast. Thank you for making a guy or 2 guys feel really great. And obviously this is your show. I'm just a little piece of it, and I'm always honored to be here, but it does make you feel really good when people come up and really show respect and gratitude towards the show because of what you do and what goes on here. So thanks to all those fans. That was really cool. Really nice of you to do that.
Yeah, it was super cool. And I mean, you're as big a part of this show as I am, dude. I mean, you make the exact same amount of money from it as I do. 50-50 split.
The thing that it always reminds me of is, Jesus Christ, I'm just a camera guy. You know what I mean? I mean, that's the humbling part of this, and the gratitude that, I feel from those people that do mention it, is that I'm just a camera guy, and I really appreciate it. It makes me feel great.
I don't think you're just a camera guy. I think you're more than that. But ultimately, I do think
at the end of the day, I'm just a camera guy.
Well, at the end of the day, I mean, if the world goes to Walking Dead, we're both screwed. Let's be honest. I mean, hey, what are you guys gonna do? Well,
I don't know.
If you do something special, I'll announce it really good, and
well,
and Jake can make a video of it.
If the world goes to shit, I'll film it and you can announce it.
Yes, because that's what they need. We need some announcers here. All of a sudden, our other abilities would be what we talk about. I'm a good angler. I'll catch you some fish, or I'm a good hunter. I'll shoot you some stuff. But luckily, it isn't Walking Dead, and thankfully people listen to this stuff. And I thank everybody that tuned in here this week, and we're right back at it in a couple weeks on Murray, right? That's our first
Lake
one, Lake
Murray and then Santee Cooper back to back. I saw
Bed
Drew
fishing?
Cook. I saw Drew Cook posting today about, guess what the fish are going to be doing, and when we get to South Carolina, they're going to be on beds.
Oh boy. Do you think he like, see, I always, maybe I'm just more corrupt as a person than you. You're more genuine. Whenever I read something like that, I'm like, why is he posting that? Why does he want everyone to be bed fishing? Is that what, or maybe he's just excited he's going bed fishing. Maybe it's totally legit. I mean,
I think that he's totally legitimately pumped, that he feels really good about these tournaments coming up because they're going to be bed fishing.
yeah, they'll be fun.
That's his wheelhouse.
He's very observant, but not observant on this show, just so you know. Most people don't know this, but there has been he stuck this on my car at one point, his card, and I put his card back there for like a year. I've been waiting for him to say to me, hey, my card's back there, but he doesn't notice. So your card's back here, and
way to
hopefully,
go, Drew.
Yeah, way to go, Drew.
You're on every single Mercer podcast now.
Exactly.
Every one of them.
Giant,
huge plug.
Yeah, big plugs. That
huge
too.
Plug.
All right. I think that's it. I thank you all for watching. And as always, Jake, tell Bob Cobb to take it away.
Bob Cobb, take it away.
We're idiots.
We are idiots.
Thanks for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe, because Bob Cobb of the Bassmasters told you to. You hear?